Josh Bamberg, Blake Gladman, thank you so much for joining us. First time on, I think.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Look, well, we're here we're doing a series. This is the first one in a series. And, we're trying to get to the bottom of the frozen category. And I know you've done some research. So what have you done and why, lads?
Yeah, no, hi, Paul. Look, we conduct research. We want to be bang up to date with what's happening on frozen food within convenience retail. And we just recognise over the last kind of 2 or 3 years, there's been a massive shift in perception of frozen food. It's increasingly important. And I think convenience retailers are recognising that and kind of moving forward with the time. So we just want to say we spoke to 200 retailers to find out what's the latest, get bang up to date with what's happening out there, what the perceptions are and what the retailers are doing to kind of make the most of the opportunity that frozen food presents.
That makes sense. So, Blake, you've done the research. What are some of the findings?
Yep. So, I guess broadly, actually, quite positive in terms of what the retailers are saying to us. So, I guess kind of headline good news really is that 1 in 3 retailers have seen increase in shopper demand for frozen over the last 12 months. And a further 25% are intending to invest further in 2022. So I think broadly what that's shown us is that retailers seeing the category as a growth area and have confidence in the category and are looking to invest in it further in it. And I guess from a consumer perspective, it kind of makes sense really in terms of, for me, there's kind of 2 key elements at play really when from a consumer perspective. One is trust in quality of product, and the other is kind of that value for money proposition. And I feel like kind of the frozen category at the moment really hits that sweet spot in terms of those 2 elements. And certainly when you think about consumers looking for meal solutions for today, for tomorrow, and kind of when you look at kind of the fresh category, in a lot of stores, perhaps there isn't that kind of brand recognition as much so within that category as within frozen. And I think, for a lot of people, they do tend to veer towards brands that they know. And I think, again, that's where kind of frozen really kind of plays a sort of strong hand, really. And certainly, again, in terms of perceptions and awareness of kind of quality of freshly frozen products, you see a lot of chefs these days when kind of like the sort of saving money shows using a lot of frozen vegetables and things within dishes. So I think people are recognizing that the quality of frozen vegetables is as good as fresh. And then when you play in that kind of brand recognition and that price point as well, I think that's where kind of shoppers are starting to sort of see frozen as a strong alternative.
Yeah, I agree. Josh, any challenges for retailers to overcome? Obviously, there's a positive story here.
Yeah, there is. I mean, there are 1 or 2 challenges. With challenges come opportunities. The biggest challenge, I think, is space in store. And we recognise that freezer cabinets are expensive. And so to invest where you've got limited space can be a challenge. So I think this is something that suppliers need to work with the retailers on. I think it's worthwhile examining whether the store is working hard enough and whether it is, in fact, increased space for frozen, given the growth of the category. And as Blake said, this is a category in growth, it's on demand, and frankly, it's profitable. So I think that's a challenge we can work with them on. I think building on that, where space is limited, the big challenge for retailers, and again, the opportunity, is to make the most of the space that you have. And to do that, our encouragement, saying from Bird's Eye, is to stock the best sellers. The brands that customers know, often they're on TV, but also speak to your shoppers, find out what they want, and make sure what you're offering is what they want. I think the danger with frozen, as with many categories, is that retailers are bombarded with different products, different price points, promotions, and it can be bewildering. And so it's trying to cut through that noise to stock the best sellers, which usually are price marked and often attractive margin for the retailer, but also fantastic quality and value for money for the shopper. I would encourage retailers to speak to their supplier, also speak to the big brands in regard to obtaining category advice as to what are the best sellers and how should they kind of be laid out within the store to kind of maximize sales from what we say is a fairly limited space.
Good advice. Obviously, the best sellers changes over time, and especially there's some trends Now, I'm leading this to a very obvious question, but what big trends do you see in the market?
Well,
yeah.
Sorry, Blake, on this one.
No, I was just going to say, in terms of, I mean, you're probably going to mention the same thing, but in terms of the research, so 81% of retailers now stock kind of free from plant-based alternatives, which is really, really encouraging. And you probably like that to be 100% really in terms of the demand that we're seeing for that category from a consumer perspective. I just thought I'd throw in a stat that from another piece of research we did, which is around Gen Z, so 18 to 24-year-olds. I think in general, there's about 10% of the population who kind of have alternative diets, so aren't a traditional meat eater diet. But with 18 to 24-year-olds, that's 40%. So, you know, that is the trajectory in terms of where that's going. And, you know, and again, certainly when these types of consumers are going to be visiting these stores, they're going to be expecting not just one kind of product, but a range of products in that category. And certainly, again, it's a real opportunity, I think, for retailers to get ahead of the curve really and start to offer those types of alternatives. Because one of the beauty of kind of the plant-based things is that actually the quality doesn't really change too much between fresh and frozen. So you're thinking about sausages, burgers, vegetarian mince, things like that. You know, there's not really too much of a difference between. So I'm a vegetarian, so I quite often buy the frozen stuff because essentially it's the same product to a certain degree. Yeah, I just think it's a no-brainer really in terms of a retailer perspective to really jump on board that category. Yeah, and certainly from a frozen perspective, it's probably the best avenue to kind of get a good range in.
Joss, we've got January, is that right? Coming up.
It is. Yeah.
So if we're running out of time here, lads, believe it or not, it goes very quick. I told you it would do. Can you come back and join us and just talk to us about green cuisine and Veganuary and what the opportunity is? Would that be okay?
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, and it is a huge opportunity. Yeah.
Good man. Look, before we go, very quick, like a 10-second top tip for a retailer to grow their frozen category. Blake.
Focus on the best sellers, focus on the key brands, and really look at that kind of meat alternative range and really ensure that you've got kind of the top brands and the best range in that category.
Good stuff. Joss, from you?
I'd endorse that. Stock the best brands, keep them price mark packed where possible, and make them easy to find, locate in the freezer. Make it easy to shop.
Good lads. Thank you so much. We'll see you both soon.
Yeah.
Cheers.